Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. We are going to be exploring
Music and identity.
exactly the intersection of music and identity in Ethiopia.
Cool.
Specifically, we're going to look at the challenges that LGBTQIA plus musical artists face in the country. It's a place known for its vibrant culture,
Definitely.
but where societal norms and even laws sometimes create a difficult environment for these artists.
That's true.
So before we go any further, I just want to quickly define a couple of terms, just so everyone listening is on the same page. Could you quickly explain what intersex and transgender mean?
Sure. Intersex refers to people who are born with sex characteristics that don't fit typical definitions
Right.
of male or female. And transgender refers to individuals whose gender identity is different from the sex they were assigned at birth.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. So we've got some really interesting sources for this deep dive.
We do.
Articles, personal stories.
Even a glimpse into a secret concert.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be really interesting. We're going to break it down into 3 key areas.
Okay.
First, we'll look at the cultural stigma and discrimination that these artists face.
Right.
Second, we'll look at the legal obstacles and censorship.
Because the laws in Ethiopia can be very restrictive.
Yeah, they can. And then finally, we'll explore why finding community and support is so vital.
And so difficult.
Right, in this context.
Yeah.
So let's start with the cultural piece.
Yeah.
What are we talking about when we say traditional values often lead to the marginalization of LGBTQIA plus people?
Well, in many Ethiopian communities, there's this strong belief that marriage should be solely between a man and a woman
Okay.
for the purpose of procreation.
Okay.
This belief, while deeply ingrained,
Yeah.
can lead to the exclusion of individuals who identify as LGBTQIA+.
Because their relationships or lifestyles don't conform to that.
Exactly.
So it's not just about abstract values.
Yeah.
It's about these very specific beliefs that directly impact people's lives
That's-
and their relationships. So how does that exclusion actually manifest?
Well, we're talking about things like social ostracism,
Like, what does that mean?
being shunned by family and friends,
Wow.
or verbal harassment,
Yeah.
being subjected to insults or slurs.
Oh, gosh.
And in some cases, it can even escalate to threats or actual physical violence.
That was scary.
Imagine being a musician who is afraid to perform in public
Yeah.
because you fear being attacked simply for who you are.
That's terrifying. I mean, we all know that music is such a powerful form of self-expression.
Right.
But how can you create freely when you're living in that kind of fear?
It's a huge burden. This feeling that you have to hide a part of yourself in order to be safe.
Yeah.
It's like having this beautiful song trapped inside you,
Right.
but you're afraid to let it out because you don't know how people will react.
I can only imagine how isolating that must feel.
Yeah.
And, this fear must have a huge impact on their ability to connect with other artists
Yes.
and to build community.
Right.
Which leads us to the next hurdle, which is the legal landscape in Ethiopia.
Yeah,
So, unfortunately, homosexuality is criminalized there,
it is.
and there are no laws specifically protecting people from discrimination based on their sexual orientation or gender identity.
Sadly not.
So it's not just societal pressure,
No.
it's the actual law that's working against them. What are the consequences of that?
Well, it creates what we call a chilling effect.
What does that mean?
So if you're an artist and you know that expressing your true self through your music could land you in trouble with the law,
You're going to think twice.
you are. You might self-censor, change your lyrics, water down your message, just to avoid potential legal consequences.
That's so frustrating. It's like they're being forced to choose between being authentic and being safe.
Yeah.
And it also means that really important conversations about identity and acceptance are being stifled.
You got it. Imagine a powerful lyric about love being changed because it can lead to arrest.
It's a loss for everyone.
It is. A loss for the artist and a loss for society as a whole.
This is heavy stuff.
It is.
But I think it's so crucial that we understand these challenges.
I agree.
So before we dive deeper into the legal landscape, I kind of want to shift gears for a moment and talk about community and support.
Sure.
I'm guessing that for LGBTQIA plus artists,
Yeah.
finding a community, people who understand and accept them,
Right.
must be incredibly important.
Absolutely.
Especially in this kind of environment.
Having a support system, people who you can be yourself around, is vital
Yeah.
for any artist, but especially for LGBTQIA plus artists in a place like Ethiopia.
But we just talk about the stigma and the fear.
Right.
Doesn't that make it incredibly difficult to even form those communities in the first place?
It does, The very things that make these communities so necessary, the stigma, the fear of being judged or rejected, are the same things that make it so hard to build them.
Like, how do you even begin to do that?
It's like trying to build a house of cards in a windstorm. And openly discussing these issues, finding others who share your experiences, can feel incredibly risky.
So what are their options? Are there any organizations or resources available?
There are a few.
Okay.
But access can be limited, and the stigma often makes it difficult for people to reach out.
Right.
One organization that's doing some important work is ILGA,
Okay.
the International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Trans, and Intersex Association.
Okay. And what do they do?
They advocate for LGBTQIA+ rights globally, and they provide resources and support to local organizations in places like Ethiopia.
Okay.
One of their main strategies is to connect and strengthen these local groups, helping them build capacity and advocate more effectively.
That sounds really vital.
It is.
But I can only imagine the challenges they face operating in such a restrictive environment.
It's tough.
And the lack of these safe spaces, what does that lead to?
Well, imagine feeling constantly alone.
Right.
Like your art doesn't have a home.
Yeah.
It can lead to despair, a loss of hope, even thoughts of giving up on your art altogether.
That's so sad to have that creative spark inside you, but feel like you just can't share it.
It's like a light being extinguished.
Yeah, it is. But even in the face of all this, there are stories of hope and resilience coming out of Ethiopia.
Right.
We have this story of two artists.
𝗓𝗓 and 𝗧𝗓𝗓, who managed to find each other and create this, like, glimmer of light.
Tell me more about 𝗓𝗓 and 𝗧𝗓𝗓.
Okay, picture this. A dimly lit room in Addis Ababa.
Okay.
𝗓𝗓, this talented intersex artist, is playing her guitar, pouring her heart into her music. But there's this palpable tension in the air.
Okay.
This sense of secrecy and fear that hangs heavy in the room.
Like, I can almost feel it.
Right. 𝗓𝗓 is part of this small underground network of LGBTQIA+ individuals who gather in secret.
Wow.
To share their music, their stories, their struggles.
That sounds vital.
These gatherings are rare and precious moments of connection.
Right.
In a world that often feels hostile and unwelcoming.
These gatherings sound like a lifeline.
They are.
A way to combat that crushing sense of isolation we were just talking about.
Exactly. And it was at one of these gatherings that 𝗓𝗓 met 𝗧𝗓𝗓.
Oh, wow.
A transgender artist who shared her passion for music and her yearning for a space where they could truly be themselves.
That's amazing that even in this really difficult environment,
I know.
Connections like this are still being made.
It gives you hope.
It does. So they meet, and then what?
Well, they bonded over their shared experiences, their dreams of performing openly, of sharing their art with the world.
Without fear.
Without fear of judgment or reprisal.
It must have taken a lot of courage to even think about performing publicly, given everything we've talked about.
It was a huge leap of faith. They decided to organize a small invitation-only concert.
Okay.
Inviting only those who understood their struggles and who could offer a safe and supportive space.
I bet there was so much anticipation leading up to that night.
Oh, absolutely.
That mixture of excitement and fear.
Imagine the scene. The room is buzzing with anticipation. The air is thick with both hope and anxiety.
Yeah.
𝗓𝗓 and 𝗧𝗓𝗓 take the stage.
Oh my gosh.
Their hearts pounding in their chests. And then silence.
Oh, wow. The silence must have been deafening.
It was. The entire room fell silent as they began to play.
And their music.
Raw, emotional, filled with the weight of their experiences and this yearning for acceptance.
Oh.
Their voices, their instruments just spoke volumes about the struggles they had faced and the dreams they held on to.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. What was the audience's reaction?
Overwhelming.
Really?
They listened intently, their faces reflecting this mix of empathy,
wow,
admiration, and relief.
Okay.
For many of them, it was the first time they'd ever seen someone like themselves, on stage, expressing their truth through music.
I bet it was such a powerful experience.
Oh, it was. For 𝗓𝗓 and 𝗧𝗓𝗓, but for everyone in that room.
What happened after the concert?
Messages poured in.
Oh, wow.
From people who had been touched by their performance.
That's amazing.
People shared their own stories, their feelings of being seen and understood for the first time.
So it wasn't just a concert.
No,
it was like a catalyst.
Exactly. It was the birth of a movement.
A moment that sparked something much bigger.
A testament to the power of music, to connect people, to break down barriers, to create a space for hope and healing, even in the most challenging of circumstances.
That's so inspiring. So what's next for 𝗓𝗓 and 𝗧𝗓𝗓?
Well, they dream big.
I like it.
They envision festivals, open mics, a whole network of safe spaces where LGBTQIA plus artists can express themselves freely.
Without fear.
Without fear. They want to be a beacon of hope for all those artists whose voices have been silenced for too long.
It's a beautiful vision.
It is.
But we've seen all the challenges, the deep-seated stigma, the legal barriers.
Yeah.
How can they possibly hope to achieve all that?
Well, that's a question we'll explore in the second part of our deep dive.
Okay, great.
We'll look at the strategies they're using, the collaborations they're building, and the sheer determination that fuels their mission.
I can't wait to hear more about that.
That's a good one.
But for now, we need to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of LGBTQIA plus musical artists in Ethiopia. We just left off with Hana and Tzégué's incredible story, their secret concert that really ignited this spark of hope and possibility.
Yeah. It's a powerful reminder that music can really transcend barriers and bring people together, even in the most restrictive of environments. Their concert was a catalyst. It was a moment that really captured the resilience and the yearning for connection that exists within this community.
Definitely a turning point. But let's be realistic. They're facing an uphill battle here. How do they actually plan to turn this spark of hope into a sustainable movement for change? I mean, how do you even begin to dismantle those deeply ingrained prejudices and navigate a legal system that's basically stacked against you?
Well, they've been strategic about it. First, they're harnessing the power of digital platforms. Makes sense.
To amplify their voices and to reach a broader audience.
Right. Because in a place where open expression is so limited,
Right.
the internet can be a game changer.
It is.
It's like creating a virtual stage where they can perform and connect with others without fear
You got it.
of judgment or reprisal.
They're using social media to share their music, connect with other artists, build a virtual community that transcends geographical boundaries.
It's like they're building that safe space online
Right.
that they lack in the physical world.
Exactly.
And I'm guessing they're not just posting selfies and concert announcements.
Oh.
Are they also using these platforms to educate others
Oh, yeah.
about LGBTQIA plus issues?
Absolutely. They're organizing online workshops and discussions
Okay.
to raise awareness about the discrimination faced by LGBTQIA plus individuals in Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
They're sharing their personal stories,
Mm-hmm.
explaining the nuances of gender identity and sexual orientation,
Yeah.
and advocating for greater understanding and acceptance.
And that's so important because education is key to breaking down those walls of prejudice.
You got it.
It's hard to hate what you understand.
Exactly. Their second strategy is collaboration. They're reaching out to established artists,
Okay.
both within Ethiopia and internationally, to build alliances and gain support for their cause.
So there's power in numbers.
There is.
Having those allies in the music industry can open doors and amplify their message
They can.
on a much larger scale.
Yeah. It's like building a chorus of voices demanding change.
That's a great way to put it. And they're not just reaching out to other musicians.
Yeah.
They're also working with human rights organizations to raise awareness about the legal and social challenges faced by LGBTQIA plus people in Ethiopia.
So they're building bridges,
Yeah.
creating a united front that brings together artists, activists,
Mm.
and organizations all working towards this common goal.
That's how you create real momentum for change.
Precisely. And their third strategy,
Okay.
which is perhaps the most crucial, is perseverance.
I was just going to say, it's going to take a lot of grit and determination
Yeah,
to make a real difference in such a deeply entrenched system.
it will.
I mean, they're facing so much resistance.
They are, but they understand that change won't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
They're facing these deeply ingrained prejudices and a legal system that's stacked against them.
Right.
But they're committed to the long haul.
They're like musical activists.
Yeah.
Using their art as a weapon to challenge the status quo
I like
and
that.
demand equality.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
They're not just creating music, they're creating a movement. They're inspiring others to speak out, to demand change, to imagine a future where everyone can live authentically and express themselves freely.
It's a powerful reminder that even small acts of courage can have a ripple effect. And that change often starts at the grassroots level,
Right.
with individuals who are willing to take a stand and speak their truth.
And speaking of ripple effects, their efforts are starting to gain some traction.
That's good.
More and more, LGBTQIA plus artists in Ethiopia are finding their voices. Inspired by Hana and Tzégué's example.
It's like that concert was a seed
It was
that's now starting to sprout.
sending out these roots and shoots of hope and resistance.
That's a beautiful way to describe it.
We're seeing the emergence of these underground music scenes, secret gatherings where artists can share their work and connect with others who understand their struggles.
It's like these hidden gardens are blooming
Yeah.
in the shadows, nurturing this community of artists who are finding strength and solace in each other's company.
It's a beautiful image. And these hidden gardens are slowly but surely starting to connect, forming this wider network of support and solidarity.
So there is this sense of momentum building.
Yeah.
This underground network of LGBTQIA plus artists and allies is starting to take shape.
It is. And while they still face significant challenges, there's a growing sense of optimism among them.
Yeah.
They're starting to believe that a different future is possible,
Mhm.
a future where their voices can be heard and their identities are celebrated rather than condemned.
It's about creating a world where they can share their music without fear, where they can be their true selves on stage and off.
Exactly. And they're not just fighting for their own rights. They're fighting for a more inclusive and just society for everyone.
Hmm.
They understand that their struggle is interconnected with the struggles of other marginalized groups. And they're committed to building solidarity and working together to create a more equitable world for all.
It's a fight worth having.
It is
And music is their weapon of choice.
powerful weapon.
It's a powerful weapon that can break down barriers, open hearts, and inspire change.
Well said. But let's not forget the bigger picture here. This isn't just about Ethiopia.
Right.
LGBTQIA plus artists face similar challenges all over the world.
Of course.
Discrimination, censorship, the struggle for acceptance. These are global issues.
So what lessons can we learn from Hana and Tzɛgɛ's story? How can we support LGBTQIA plus artists both in Ethiopia and around the world? What can we do to help amplify their voices and create a more inclusive and just world for them?
That's a great question. And one that we'll delve into in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore the role of allyship, the importance of amplifying marginalized voices, and the power of music as a tool for social change.
I can't wait.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the show. It's been quite a journey exploring the world of LGBTQIA plus musical artists in Ethiopia. We've talked about the cultural stigma they face, the chilling effect of legal obstacles, and the vital need for community and support.
We've also seen some inspiring examples of resilience, the power of music to unite people, and the incredible story of Hana and Tzɛgɛ, who are using their art to spark a movement for change.
Their story is a real beacon of hope, but it also raises a really important question. How can we as individuals support and amplify the voices of marginalized artists like them, both in Ethiopia and around the world? It feels like a huge issue, and it can be tough to know where to even start.
You're right, it can feel overwhelming, but even small actions can make a difference. A great starting point is education. We need to inform ourselves about the specific challenges faced by LGBTQIA plus individuals in different cultural and legal contexts.
So, going beyond the headlines, digging deeper.
Exactly. Read articles, listen to podcasts, engage with organizations working on the ground. There's a wealth of information out there. The more we understand, the better equipped we are to be effective allies.
Knowledge is power, as they say. So once we've educated ourselves, what's next?
Amplify their voices. Share their music, promote their events, write about their stories. Use your own platforms, no matter how big or small, to spread the word.
Use our privilege, our access to resources to help level the playing field.
Exactly. And never underestimate the power of simply sharing something you've discovered. You might introduce someone to an incredible artist they've never heard of before, or spark a conversation that leads to greater understanding.
Like planting seeds of awareness and appreciation for LGBTQIA plus art and culture, letting them take root and blossom in unexpected places.
And beyond amplifying their voices, we can also support organizations that are working to create safe and inclusive spaces for LGBTQIA plus artists. Organizations like ILGA, which we mentioned earlier, are doing vital work on the ground.
They're the ones providing those essential resources, legal aid, advocacy support.
Exactly. So donating our time or money to these organizations can have a huge impact on their ability to continue this crucial work. Think about it. Even a small donation could help ILGA provide legal aid to an artist facing arrest, simply for expressing their identity through their music.
That's a powerful thought. It shows how even small acts of support can have a ripple effect and make a real difference in someone's life.
Absolutely. And perhaps the most important thing we can do is be advocates for change in our own communities.
What does that look like? What can we actually do?
Well, it starts with being mindful of the language we use and challenging discriminatory jokes or comments whenever we encounter them. It's about speaking up, even when it feels uncomfortable.
Saying, hey, that's not okay, and creating a culture where everyone feels safe and respected.
Exactly. And it also means supporting businesses and organizations that are LGBTQIA plus friendly. Our choices as consumers can send a powerful message about the kind of world we want to live in.
So it's a multi-pronged approach, educating ourselves, amplifying marginalized voices, supporting organizations on the ground, and being advocates for change in our own circles.
It's a collective effort,
Mm.
and every action, no matter how small, contributes to creating a more just and equitable world for LGBTQIA plus artists and for everyone.
Recognizing that their struggle for equality is part of a larger fight for social justice and human rights.
It's about using our voices and our actions to build a world where everyone can live authentically and express themselves freely without fear of persecution.
Creating a world where the music of 𝗓𝗓 and 𝗧𝗓𝗓 and countless other LGBTQIA plus artists can be heard and celebrated without the need for secrecy or fear.
That's a beautiful vision, and one that I believe is within our reach if we all do our part to make it a reality.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a question to ponder. What role can music play in your own life as a catalyst for understanding, empathy, and action?
That's a powerful question. It challenges us to think about how music can help us connect with people who are different from ourselves, expand our perspectives, and inspire us to make a difference in the world.
It reminds us that music is not just a form of entertainment. It's a powerful tool for building bridges, sparking conversations, and creating a more just and compassionate world.
So go out there, explore the diverse sounds of Ethiopian music, discover artists from marginalized communities around the world, and let music be your guide on a journey of discovery, empathy, and action.
Beautifully said. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of our deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. We hope you've learned something new and feel inspired to make a difference in the world.